Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, we're diving right in today because we're tackling something literally every single one of us has dealt with. You know the feeling, right? You're right in the middle of a project, things are humming along, and then suddenly, boom, moving forward seems absolutely impossible. You've hit a wall. It is a completely universal frustration, and today we're going to unpack exactly why this happens, and far more importantly, how you can actually break through it. Maybe you just don't know what the next step is. Or, perhaps you've faced a few setbacks and you find yourself just staring at your screen or your workbench, thinking, what's even the point? This feeling of being completely paralyzed is incredibly common. And the thing is, it doesn't discriminate based on the size of the task. It can happen when you're tackling something relatively small, like a college term paper, or it can happen when you're looking at monumental global issues, like social inequality or the climate crisis. That overwhelming feeling of being stuck? It's exactly the same. But here's the good news. There are reliable, proven ways to break that paralysis. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the typical timeline of our drive. People consistently report feeling highly motivated at the very start of a project, when the idea is fresh and exciting, and then again at the very end, when the finish line is literally right there in sight. But then, there's the middle. The middle is where we feel completely untethered. Our motivation just violently fluctuates, and it often plummets depending purely on where we are in that timeline. Section 1, the stuck in the middle effect. Let's look at the actual psychological mechanics behind why we lose our drive right when we're deep into a task. So, psychologists actually have a name for this. They call it the stuck in the middle effect. It's defined as a drop in motivation caused by a psychological shift in your perspective as you move closer to your goals. And honestly, just giving this a concrete framework is so helpful. It tells us that this isn't some personal failure or lack of willpower on your part. It is a totally predictable, documented psychological shift that's causing your frustration and burnout. Think about it like this. When you start working towards something, any progress at all feels like a massive win, right? Because we naturally compare ourselves against where we started. Say you start training for a marathon. Accomplishing even a short jog feels incredibly motivating. You think to yourself, look how far I've come. But the longer you work on something, your focus naturally shifts to the end goal. Suddenly, rather than seeing the progress you've actually made, it becomes dangerously easy to get frustrated by how far you still need to go. You're no longer measuring from the starting line, you're measuring from the finish line. And frankly, it just feels exhausting. Section 2, the power of sub-goals. Let's look at how we can restructure how we measure our progress and get our momentum back. A super simple but highly effective way to avoid these motivational sinkholes is to change the structure of the goal itself. Basically, you need to break your pursuits down into smaller, much more achievable sub-goals. What this does is create incremental, way less daunting benchmarks for you to compare your progress to. Remember that starting line energy we were just talking about? By setting sub-goals, you're essentially creating multiple new starting and finish lines. This creates a constant stream of micro-victories and gives you significantly more opportunities to celebrate small wins along the way. It keeps that motivation artificially high right through that dreaded middle. Section 3, when the goal is global. So what happens when we scale this whole problem up? While sub-goals work great for training for a marathon or writing a paper, large societal goals like social inequality are incredibly complex. And that complexity often makes individuals feel completely, personally powerless. Because no single action or person is likely to solve these monumental issues, focusing only on the end goal can lead to some intense disengagement. The sheer enormity of the problem makes progress feel impossible, even for those who care deeply. In fact, a 2021 global survey of young people found that over 50% believe humanity is literally doomed. I mean, that is a staggering number of people stuck in the ultimate motivational sinkhole. But despite these massive obstacles, some people actually do manage to stay motivated, engaged, and unstuck. How? Well, surprisingly, it's not just about how concerned you are or how much you care about the issue. Research regarding climate change reveals something pretty surprising. Among those who feel the absolute most alarmed about the climate crisis, only about a third, roughly 33%, actually take regular climate action. The other 67%, despite being highly alarmed, they're frozen. They just don't take regular action. So, the crucial point is, what separates that 1/3 who act from the 2/3 who freeze? Well, a unifying factor among those who take action is the confidence that their personal involvement actually makes a difference. Believing that your individual actions matter is the absolute key to unlocking yourself from that paralysis. And as we'll see, history shows us that this belief is not misguided at all. Section 4, Building Collective Momentum. Let's talk about how individual actions combine to tackle those seemingly impenetrable societal issues. Social progress often follows a fairly specific blueprint. First off, moral outrage or anger can actually help us focus on what's at stake. When it's correctly harnessed, it acts as a powerful unifier. We saw this in the American Civil Rights Movement, where shared anger over systemic racism, injustice, and violence against Black people acted as the major catalyst. Second, this shared outrage galvanizes incredibly diverse communities to actually work together. And third, bringing together people of different backgrounds, mindsets, and expertise builds the longevity and the resilience required to sustain the movement. Applying your own unique perspective to promote change is vital, and finding a community around that goal has incredibly tangible benefits for your own motivation. Just witnessing other people at work has been shown to motivate personal action. It's like a positive feedback loop. Furthermore, collaboration helps you better problem solve when you're stuck and just unsure of what the next step should be. And crucially, the support and encouragement of others serve as this deep source of inspiration and joy, right at the moment when you might be feeling the most exhausted or defeated. Section 5. Taking the first step. Let's look at how you can break out of your paralysis today. The path to conquering any goal is long, and you are absolutely bound to hit sticking points. But the truth is this: progress starts with writing that next sentence, running that extra mile, or even casting that vote to build a better future. Often, the absolute best way to get unstuck is simply to take any action at all, no matter how small it is, and no matter how imperfect the outcome might be. Remember, action breeds motivation, not the other way around. So I want to leave you with this question to think about as we wrap up this explainer. Look at whatever project you are currently stuck in the middle of right now, and ask yourself, what is your next small, imperfect step? Don't worry about the finish line today. Just find that one small step and get moving again.